How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ethan Bridge. I'm host of the Social Media Marketing School podcast and the guy behind the Instagram page at The Marketing Ethan. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about staying relevant on social media. And for this scenario, we are particularly going to stick to Instagram. Something I tell pretty much everyone is that Instagram isn't your business. Instagram is a platform that allows you to build an audience that you can then leverage to grow your business. But with that being said, it means you need to treat social media in a different way. You can't just post every single day about your product, telling people to buy it, because that won't work. You will not build an audience like that. Social media is different. To attract people, you have to provide value. Value to others, solving people's problems, making their days better, making their life easier. They are just a few examples of providing value. And if you don't do those, then you're not going to attract anyone in the first place to leverage to grow your business. So one of the key things to staying relevant on social media is providing value. And it's that process that I'm going to talk through in today's podcast episode to help you understand why this is the case a little bit more. Now, I'm going to preface this all by saying those who don't ask will be the ones who end up succeeding on social media. The more you give to others, the more you're going to receive in return. It's pretty simple. That's why with your content, you need to be thinking about, okay, with this content that I'm producing, how am I catering to the needs and the wants of my audience? You don't want to be thinking, right, how can I force this product down the throat of my audience to try and make them buy it? Because when you're constantly trying to do that, they'll never buy anything because you haven't given them anything first. And because you haven't given them anything first, you cannot expect anything in return. So think about the former. Think about, how can I provide value to this audience? Because every time you post without an ask, you gain value. You put value into the audience. But every time you have an ask, you take some of that value away. So there needs to be an uneven balance in favor of the value you are providing. You need to be providing more value than what you're asking for in return. Because if that balance goes the other way and you end up asking for more than you give in the first place, that's when you become irrelevant. That's when you become a sellout. Or you may just reduce the quality of the content you are producing. If you are consistently producing content at a certain standard, people get used to that. As soon as you then fall below that, people are going to think you're getting lazy and they won't enjoy your content as much because they were used to the higher quality of content that you were posting previously. And therefore you can become irrelevant in that way too. So you've got to hold yourself to a certain standard. And when you hold yourself to that certain standard, you will continue to provide value because people will continue to enjoy your content. So you see how all of this is building up. So every time you post a piece of content without asking, it goes up and up and up and up. You ask for something, so it then goes down slightly, but then that relevancy increases again because you keep providing value before you ask again. So the more value you give, the more relevant you become. And social media is a long-term game. People often forget this. Social media isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. You can't just join and then 3 weeks in, sell a course for $1,000 and expect that from your audience because you've only been there for a very, very short period of time. You haven't had the time to build that trust, build that authority, build that loyalty with your audience. So they're never going to buy anything. There is a right and a wrong time to sell a product. And this is another place where people make a mistake. You should only start selling on social media when you see that there is a demand for your expertise. Very early on, you're going to be posting content. Yes, you may get a few likes, you may get a bit of engagement here and there, but you aren't really getting anyone asking for your specific advice. You're getting no DMs asking you questions. But then as you begin to grow, as you gain that authority, as you build that trust, people will begin coming to you directly, asking you some questions in the DMs. That's when you can begin to think, okay, look, this is beginning to work now. The content I'm producing is getting good traction. It's clearly reaching my audience on a level where they can then begin to trust me because they're now coming to me personally for advice. So that demand is now building, but don't go in there with the sell. Don't go in too soon. There is a too soon and there's a too late. You need to hit the perfect point for when you actually ask. When you see a high demand for a specific topic or a specific question, people keep asking the same things, create a solution to that problem, and then you know the demand is there. And because there's been an excess in demand, when you then make that ask, you will get something in return. Because technically, it's only a small ask because you're still providing them value. You're solving the issue that they were trying to solve in the first place by asking you the question. But you can also miss the boat. Your account will go through peaks and troughs of growth. 1 minute you won't see much growth over time, then you'll hit an exponential growth spike, which is fantastic. And it's those exponential growth spikes where it's the best time to put those asks in. You don't want to be asking on the down slope, you want to be asking on the up slope because there's more and more people becoming interested. So it's difficult, but you'll know when it's the right time to ask. Remember, it's a long-term game. Don't go in straight away with the mentality that you think you're going to make $1,000 overnight. It's not going to happen. That's just how it is. See it as the fact that you're going to have to build that trust and authority with your audience. It may take 5 months. It may take 6 months. It may take a year. But it's a long-term game. You're thinking further down the line. You're building this audience that you can leverage to grow your business in the long term. 10, 20 years time. Think about that. Because when you think long term and you can push back that ask until you know the time is exactly right, you know you will get the maximum return. Gary Vee has a perfect philosophy about it. Jab, 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 right hook. The jabs, they are the value. You're constantly providing that value. You're jabbing at your audience. The right hook, that is when you have the ask in return. But to get that ask, you had to provide all that value in the first place, which were the jabs. But there's far more jabs than there is right hooks. And now I know a lot of you might be thinking, but Ethan, we've got to make money at some point. And yeah, of course you do. That's life, that's business. You need to pay the bills somehow. But all I'm saying is that there is a right time to have that ask. And there is a certain number of times that you can ask. As long as you are providing more value than what you are asking for in return, you will stay relevant. If you are asking for more in return than you're giving to your audience in the first place, people will lose interest in you. They'll think that you're a sellout. They'll think that this person's not providing me with enough value. Let me unfollow them. You won't get recommended to other people because you are just seen as this person that just keeps asking for stuff without giving stuff to other people in the first place. It's not rocket science. Just think of it as that uneven balance, like I was saying, in favor of the value you provide. Every single post you make, that value increases. Every single ask, it decreases a little, but you're going to continue to provide more value, so that value bar will continue to increase. Simple as that. To stay relevant on social media, make sure you are always providing more to your audience than what you are asking for in return. Simple as that. End of podcast episode. And that wraps up today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turned on post notifications. That way you will never miss a video when I post one. But I did just want to mention that this is a part of my podcast series, Social Media Marketing School, and the audio version of the podcast is the place to be because I actually release this content a little bit sooner over there than I do here on YouTube. I will leave some links to that in the description, so make sure you are subscribing over there. But if you've got any questions with regards to anything I've mentioned, please just reach out to me on Instagram @themarketingethan, send me a DM, and I will make sure that I get back to you no matter what. But if you have made it to this point in the video, I just want to finish off by saying thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.